Hey Rich, so you're editing the Aleister Black Dark Father storyline, so I had an idea for the opening. No, it won't take much work. So, you know the thing that Aleister Black does when he rises from the ground in the mist? I just want you to do that, but with me, but in the studio. No, I can't film it. Well, Sullivan's not here to lift me up. I don't want to as well. So you can just do that in post? Well, I mean, why not? That's what an editor does, isn't it, Rich? Okay, you're just being very... I mean, I put all this together. I'm a genius. You know how long it takes me to write these? It takes me an afternoon, Rich, all right? A whole afternoon. What are you going to do with that afternoon? Oh, I'm going to hang out with my kid. Grow up, all right? Do it. Do it, or Ollie will hear about it, all right? Thank you. Thanks, babes. All right, love you. Thanks. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to look great. Yeah. You prick. No man is ever truly evil, apart from Sock Puppet Sullivan. He sits on the devil's right hand. Aleister Black was and still is a lot like Bray Wyatt in a lot of respects, not because they're both spooky wrestlers doing spooky moves and saying spooky things in a closet. It's deeper than that. The once Tommy End, former Aleister and current Malachi Black is a narratively ambitious character, one that takes the fact that wrestling is one long show with one unbroken continuity and tries to do something psychologically interesting with that much lore. While some wrestlers shrug off character or gimmick changes as a change of heart or I saw the light or you people betrayed me, wrestlers like Wyatt and Black have tried to weave all those twists into stories of shattered minds and demons in the dark. Like the misadventures of Bray, this kind of approach to character work does come with pitfalls. It's pretty underwhelming, after all, when a cult-like character makes a dark pact with a fallen angel and then loses in a fatal four-way tag match at WrestleMania. I don't know, just for example. Black's better protected against this kind of damage to his aura, mostly because his martial arts style and in-ring poise are so accomplished. The threatening character work and violent moveset, they gel a little bit more than I think they do with Bray. However, the biggest similarity between the two characters is achingly clear. Both Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black were trying to tell complex stories that seemed to fall outside of their control, leading to departures from WWE at shocking moments. And of course, this horrible, nagging feeling that something really interesting had been squandered. And boy, oh boy, Aleister Black's last year in WWE was mental. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. At WrestleMania 36, Aleister Black wrestled worst ever version of Bobby Lashley for literally no reason. Like, actually, for that's not hyperbole. There was no reason. They just announced it a few days before the show. There was actually a WWE.com exclusive promo where they asked Aleister Black, "Hey, Al, why is this WrestleMania match happening?" And he replied, "There seems to be no rhyme or reason for Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley to collide. The world teaches us that sometimes there is no reason or rhyme for conflict. But if we push beyond the surface of Mr. Lashley, we see a powerful individual, someone who I've witnessed and seen decimate people in mere seconds, as have I. So, in the natural order of things, would it not make sense for us to find out who decimates who the quickest?" That's the promo, and that's why they had a 7-minute match at WrestleMania. That's a storyteller right there, with no story, doing his best. And that's a lot of Aleister Black in WWE, a heavily thematic character that isn't featured consistently enough to let that theme build to anything overarching beyond the occasional spooky promo that, after a while, all start to sound the same. Does that remind you of anybody? Bray Wyatt. In July 2020, Rollins was going on a bit of a kick of bursting people's eyes with the ring steps, and his acolyte Murphy did some amateur optometry on Aleister Black, sidelining him for a month before Black returned with a sort of medieval version of an eye patch and turned heel on Kevin Owens before tweeting, "Let us begin." Ooh. Then nothing happened. Kevin Owens just needed a program apparently, and Black slotted into that, got finally beaten by Owens on Raw in October, was drafted to SmackDown for a new start, and, checks notes, disappeared for 6 months. However, after WrestleMania 37, the first Tales from the Dark Father segment aired on SmackDown, April 23rd, 2021 to be exact. These were absolutely brilliant, by the way. Not everything was bad. Beautifully animated, dark parables of a child, presumed to be young Aleister, molded, reared, controlled by this elusive dark father who showed Black the true nature of the world. They are really good. They're well directed, well performed. It's good stuff. A month later, Black returned to TV, attacking Big E, helping Apollo Crews retain the IC title. Okay, that's the feud then. And 2 weeks later, Aleister Black was released. What the literal like Bray Wyatt, he was sidelined for months after a storyline disfigurement turned up around WrestleMania 37. A plan seemed to be in place, and then he vanished forever, only to appear on AEW 30 days later because WWE bollocksed up his no-compete clause. He still had his NXT no-compete clause, and it's just so much stupid in such a short amount of time. Regardless how you feel, Black's AEW run has gone so far with his new children, Brody King, Julia Hart, and a man still inexplicably called Buddy. The Dark Father is one of the most bizarre storyline cancellations in a very long time, and it leaves us wondering how else it might have gone. Well, let me have a go. If you enjoy my fantasy bookings and want more, always more, why not join our Patreon today at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. If you join right now, you'll find next month's booking video already there. It's how Adam would book Big E, WWE Champion. Watch it right now at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. I think it's good. I think it's well good and that. So let's start this with the big question. Who is the Dark Father? Is it the devil? Is it some part of Aleister Black's psyche? Is it just some spooky dude? And the answer is yes. So full disclosure, I actually have a little bit of a head start on this booking thanks in no small part to Laurie's Aleister Black Explain video. Now that video is on Parts Unknown, and I think you should watch it because it's comfortably one of the best video series we've ever made. I think it's delightful. And those aren't just my thoughts. On Talk Is Jericho, Malachi Black revealed that he'd seen Laurie's video and thought it was great, even mentioning that Laurie had managed to suss out, or get very close to sussing out, who the Dark Father actually was. So that's 10 Poirot points for Laurie Blake. Apparently the Dark Father is based off this bull-headed son of a bitch, Moloch, sometimes called Molech. Molech, which is very close to Malachi. He's a god, basically, a deity worshipped by the Canaanites, who's like massively into child sacrifice. Like that's his gimmick. Yeah, super. You know how I'm into board games? It's like that for Moloch, but his version of having too many board games in a big Kallax in his house is getting his followers to sacrifice like a bunch of kids. It is harder to get a hobby YouTube channel about that monetized. In John Milton's Paradise Lost, and yes, this is going to be one of those fantasy bookings, he mentions the big bull Buchanan. First Moloch, horrid king besmeared with blood of human sacrifice and parents' tears, though for the noise of drums and timbrels loud, their children's cries unheard, that passed through fire to his grim idol. Cool, I'm having that. That's brilliant. That forms the basis of where I'm going with this Aleister Black storyline. Black is haunted by this figure, tormented by a devil of his own mind, a voice that can only be quieted by one thing: the child must pass through the fire. And we begin after WrestleMania 37, and look, a bunch of stuff needs to change for this booking to go off. A few people who got released need to be not that, and chief amongst them, you know, Aleister Black. But let's just go with it. Vignettes air that mention the Dark Father. A similar style, but a few content differences. Lots of candles, like in real life, and every time the vignettes begin with Black, dressed in an impeccable black suit, holding his hand over a flame. If only, says Black, if only it was this easy. Black tells stories of a child with a dark passenger, a voice in his head, a fire burning on his back, a fire that won't go out, a fire that he's come to realize must never go out. For a very long time, that voice, the Dark Father, spoke to the child, whispered to the child, told the child the truths of this world that no one else would. The rules we've built around ourselves are a cage. And when a creature finally sees the cage that it's in, realizes its own captivity, it can drive you mad. The vignettes build and build like this. God, I love writing spooky, ominous bollocks. The voice in the child's head got louder over the years. Pills wouldn't shut it out. Alcohol wouldn't shut it out. Love. Violence, for a time, causing pain, suffering. That made the voice quieter. But soon that child found it couldn't inflict enough pain, couldn't hurt hard enough. The child ran away. For months it begged and pleaded with the voice. What did the Dark Father want? In the final vignette, Aleister Black says, finally, the Dark Father told the child what it wanted, what it needed. The child must pass through the fire. The child, he gave an offering. Aleister turns to reveal that the entire back of the impeccable black suit is horribly burned. But the voice didn't stop, says Aleister Black. This was not the child that the Dark Father wanted, but for my courage, for my sacrifice, the Dark Father finally gave me a name. So we begin with, and honestly, I promise I'm not obsessed with the man, but we begin with Bo Dallas. So he's on Raw still, he hasn't been released, wrestling a match when out comes Aleister Black, appearing in person for the first time. He's wearing his suit, half perfect, half burned. He steps into the ring, looks Bo Dallas in the face, and he almost looks sad, sorry for what is going to happen next. He hits Bo Dallas with Black Mass. As Bo lies in the middle of the ring, Aleister reaches under that ring for a gas canister, walks back into the ring, soaks Bo with gasoline. He takes out a lighter with a bull skull etched onto the side, lights it, but before he can, officials run down and drag Bo away. Maybe not a bull skull, actually, because that would look like he's stolen The Rock's lighter. Didn't think about that. The next week on Raw, Bo's real-life father, Mike Rotunda, the man formerly known as IRS, is backstage and is beside himself with rage. He wants to know how his son could almost get burned alive on WWE programming. You know, a dad would. Aleister Black cuts a promo in the ring and offers Mike Rotunda answers. When you become a father, a part of you is lost. Part of your life isn't for you anymore. Your happiness, your wants. That part of you now belongs to your child. Except it isn't really a loss, is it, Mike? It's an offering. Well, I've lost a part of myself as well, you see. I have an offering to make as well. The Dark Father wants your child to pass through the fire. And he will, Mike. He will. Will you stop me? For your child, can you stop me? Horrid king besmeared with blood and parents' tears. And he hits Mike Rotunda with Black Mass. Bang. Dead. Bo Dallas runs to the ring enraged. Aleister Black versus Bo Dallas is set at Hell in a Cell, a no-holds-barred match. Lots of talk of hell, hellfire, cleansing power of the flames, devils. It's branding. The match spills to the entranceway. Aleister Black pulls up part of the stage floor, pours gas into the hole that's formed, lights it, creates a pit of fire. Shot very carefully, obviously, smoke and mirrors, etc. But despite officials coming out to beg off Aleister Black, he hits Black Mass and Bo Dallas falls into the flaming pit. And that's the end of the match. Because it would be, wouldn't it? As people rush to the scene with fire extinguishers as Bo is hastily covered in fire blankets before he's carted away on a stretcher, Aleister Black sits cross-legged on the stage and can be heard at last saying, "Peace." And that's Bo, written off WWE TV. Pretty much for good until he returns as Uncle Howdy in my Bray Wyatt fantasy booking. You know, the Blompier Cinematic Universe. The BCU, it's all connected. In following weeks, CCTV footage is shown of Aleister Black in a padded cell, talking to doctors about why he did what he did. Is he going to do it again? Aleister repeats over and over again, "I'm better now. The Dark Father has left me alone. I'm better now. I've regained the missing piece. I'm better now." After a while, Aleister Black is allowed to return to WWE programming. He's happier. He's calm, serene, giving it total white meat, babyface, happy to be here vibes. He even occasionally smiles. It's very disconcerting to see a goth do that. It's like seeing Laurie smile. It's not natural. Take it away. Everyone is terrified to wrestle Aleister Black, just in case, you know. But he shakes hands before matches, and sure, he occasionally explodes with knees, kicks, and a vicious black mass to the face, but who doesn't? Aleister Black is just a wrestler again. He's better now. Until a month or two later, when after a match, Black's face changes. He looks around slightly, almost like he's hearing something. This continues for a little bit. As Aleister Black wrestles, it's clear that he's hearing the voice of the Dark Father again. The Dark Father wants someone. A camera follows Aleister Black as he clutches his head, walking around backstage screaming, "Who is it? Who is it?" "Oh, I understand, Father." The name, as we'll very soon come to find out, is Dominik Mysterio. Let's get him. First, his dad's fought for custody of him in a ladder match. Now another wrestler wants to set him on fire. He's been to prison. Just, I don't know, try finance, Dom. It's a dangerous line of work for you. And this is the form that the Aleister Black storyline takes. You have to completely write Bo Dallas off so that the threat is real. That when Aleister Black is given a voice, he will stop at nothing until he offers that person to the Dark Father. He will stop at nothing to put that person through the flames. Black starts to hound Dominik, stalking him, trying to set him on fire to stop the voices in his brain. And Aleister Black won't stop. He is quite literally a man possessed, which obviously puts him in the firing line of Rey Mysterio. There's a nice little bit of mirroring here, because Aleister Black, back in 2020, was helping Rey against Seth and Murphy, which is what got his eye injured and made him piss off for a few months. Discover the Dark Father, basically. Maybe that's why the voice in Black's head is pointing him towards the person who'd cause Rey the most suffering. I don't know. It's like poetry, I guess. It rhymes. People try to stop Aleister Black. They talk to him. His doctors try to turn him back from this dark purpose. He simply responds, "Would you explain to a rabid dog the reasons he should not be rabid?" This leads to SummerSlam. Rey Mysterio versus Aleister Black. Rey begs for Dominik not to be at ringside, but Dominik refuses to stay home. All of these themes of duty, selflessness versus selfishness, what a parent gives up for their child, and what a child might give up for their father. In the match, Black victimizes Rey Mysterio, exploits Dom's presence at ringside, using him as a distraction to blindside and punish Mysterio. He catches Mysterio with a black mass, but refuses to cover him. He waits for Rey to stand up again, and he hits him with another. He waits. And then another. He waits. Another. Dominik begs Black to stop, but he won't. Finally, Dom can't stand anymore, and he offers himself. So apparently there's a gel you can put on skin in order to set the skin on fire, and they use that in stunt work. And essentially, let's do that. So Dom places his hand in a bucket of it, and he offers his hand out to appease Black, and he sets his hand on fire. Black finally finds some form of peace, covers Rey Mysterio. 1, 2, 3, ends the match. Dom has his hand extinguished, rushes to his father's aid, lots of EMTs, and amongst that, Aleister Black once again is calm. And this can continue for Aleister Black. He finds these long periods of peace where there's no voices in his head. Each time there's a longer and longer gap, convincing him that he's finally better now, before another target is given to him. So you don't have to have the Dark Father storyline constantly on the boil, which can book you into a corner, because, you know, how do you have Aleister Black lose if this is the thing that he needs? But very occasionally it flares up, and Aleister Black briefly becomes the scariest person on the roster, relentless until he does what he has to do, until he passes the child through the fire. It's almost a legend killer gimmick as well, of sorts. Target only, second or third generation stars. So these old wrestling dads rush in to save their kids and get brutalized in the process. Parents' tears, like Target and Uso, and Rikishi can eat a black mash and turn the heat up on the feud. Randy Orton can be targeted. Poor Cowboy Bob. He's 70 though. Mate, I don't know. But you know, Randy Orton versus Aleister Black, I can dig it. And I know I've drawn a lot of comparisons between the two men in this video, but for me, the dream finale to a storyline like this is Aleister Black versus Bray Wyatt. Two men who have literally been through hellfire and out the other side. Two men, each with a dark passenger, with a demon that compels them to do terrible things when it manifests itself. It's also a natural endpoint because the Dark Father narrative began with Bo Dallas, Bray's real-life brother. So my pitch is this, a Firefly Funhouse match, but with the Dark Father included. A Fire Dark Fun Dad match. That sounds horrible though. But this is when we finally see some of the physical representation of the Dark Father, a creature with a bull skull's head, the flesh burned off to the bone. And it's even a way of writing off both the Dark Father and the Fiend. It's all that's getting proper anime, this, but Aleister Black and Bray can fight in this funhouse, and then slowly but surely their inner demons manifest until the Fiend is locked in battle with the Dark Father, and they end up destroying themselves in a fiery blaze, leaving Aleister Black and Bray Wyatt behind. Maybe both men, they realize, maybe now we are finally better for now. And that's my pitch for Aleister Black and the Dark Father storyline. What do you think? Did you hate it? I hope not. What else would you like to see me book? Make sure you join our Patreon if you want to get an advanced showing of next month's. And we'll see you next time. Jam that jam. Sorry, I'll do it in a bit more gravitas like Aleister Black. Jam that jam.